What's up, y'all? Cecil West, Beyond the Harmony, beyondtheharmony.com, back again with my brand new co-host.
Jason the Q Quest.
And this is the question of the week. This is a segment inside of a segment inside of a segment. I don't know. But this week we are doing the best, favorite, most important, and worst from an album. Do you remember the rules to this particular segment?
Yes, I do. Last time we did it was Thug Stories.
Perfect. So it's the same thing. This week I need to know what your favorite song is, what the most important song is, the best song, and the worst from the three-man comeback, Strength and Loyalty.
Wow. After listening to your show a while, I don't know if you realize how much you and John talk about Strength and Loyalty as if it's like eternal. You guys talk about this album so much, but to answer those questiones, and remember the three-man comeback kind of started with Bone for Life and then Thug Stories, but the official with the Swizz, Strength and Loyalty. So I think the best song overall on the album, as far as production value, writing, composition, the whole nine, Order My Steps, is pretty dang epic. I mean, you got the singers in it, it builds, there's all the elements, the crescendos, the climax, holy cow, there's so many moments in that song. Some of my favorite lines by Crazy Bone, dropping that militant Bible knowledge on him. What you're seeing in the news is already written in the Bible. Man, I love that line. And then as far as my favorite is Wimblow, because my parents had the Fleetwood Mac Dreams album, and was in a little group at one point. We wanted to sample Windblow, and I wanted to sample Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. So when I heard Bone do it, I was just like, see, man, I'm on the same wavelength with these guys, and they killed it. It was The Chain is the sample that they used.
Yeah.
And but I always wanted to do The Chain, because if you had the album by Fleetwood Mac, the singers had their part, but then there was like this 3.5 minute ride out. And I was back, before you could make your own beats, and if you could just find something, you could rhyme on it. So I used to rhyme on that beat all the time. And then obviously the most important song on that album, it's not just the most important song on that album, it's probably the most important song by Bone in a decade. Actually, in 15 years, it's their most important song, is I Tried. And they even had a movie about it. Yeah. So, there's that. And as far as the worst, believe it or not, I think Seatown's the worst song. And
shit.
I know people don't like Bumps in the Trunk. I know, but Bumps in the Trunk, I really don't like it either, just because I've already heard Lazy say that on Thuggish Ruggish Bone. But I like Candy Paint, believe it or not. So I think, and the funny thing about Candy Paint, I don't know anybody besides me. John probably likes Candy Paint too, I bet. But Candy Paint, Wishbone. If you look at his verse, I always felt like, I was like, man, this is Wish in his element. I thought, when I hear Candy Paint, I think about seeing Wish on that motorcycle in the Resurrection video. And then I hear he's got some pretty good knowledge about cars. He's talking about his 350 Rocket Cutlass, bumper to bumper, can't touch it. When he says, I supercharged it, I was like, man, they need to let Wish do some car songs. Wish needs to come to the South, start doing some lowrider tracks. So I do like Candy Paint, but I know most people don't like it. So that's my three. My favorite is Windblow. Order My Steps is the best song, and I Tried is the most important song by Bone in 15 years. Brought him back, and the worst is Seatown, in my opinion. So what do you have, Cecil West?
All right, well, let's just get the easy one out of the way. Of course, the most important is definitely I Tried, for everything that Jason just said. There's a movie, it was the huge comeback fucking song, the Akon feature, it was all over the place. It was strategically the biggest song that they had put together since the mid-90s. So we'll get that one out of the way. I love this album. I love this album. I love this fucking album. I love this fucking album. I love that three of them did this album and it was successful. It showed that the Bone brand was more than just the guys. It was bigger than that. But there was also great music in here. This album I think takes a lot of heat, which is weird. Like in fact, I don't think it quite takes new waves heat, but this album takes some heat because Swiss Beats was involved. Swiss Beats did a lot for these guys though. And yeah, you know, you're gonna sign to Swiss Beats, you're gonna have some Swiss Beats style songs, which we saw with Bumps in the Trunk, which we saw with Candy Paint. Um, that it's gonna happen. But you know, when I think about this, it's really hard for me to pick a favorite. I also really love Order My Steps. I remember smoking down by this little cove one time with a homie, and it was a beautiful day, and we're listening to the Strength and Loyalty album, and the cars are all pulled up, and we're smoking, and there's this little stream, like it's actually the river, but it was a smaller part of the river, and it's just all nice and flowing, and it's cool through the whole album. And then it was like the universe heard Order My Steps come on, and all of a sudden there was this crazy fucking storm, and it was raining, and everything was fucking wild out there, and Order My Steps was banging out of his car, and it was really an epic moment. And you know, I really like that song. I don't get into a ton of the religious Bone songs. What really makes me like this one is they put Yolanda Adams on it. She's actually like a real gospel singer who is like known for it. She's in that game, and you know, she's done a lot in that religious gospel, you know, lane. In addition to the music, she's fucking books and podcasts and all kinds of shit. So she got a legitimate person, or they got a legitimate person to get on this song with them. And that's a big cosign, because if she thought these are devil worshiping fucking freaks, she wouldn't go sing their song. So I always thought that was a big I always thought that was a big stamp for them, because you know, we know that Bones down with the God, and they got one of the best, you know, the best members of that God army to come sing with them. So I love Order My Steps. It isn't my favorite, but man, it was super close. It was super close.
Got a question on that real quick for you.
Yeah.
But so I never heard you and John mention this, but you ever hear the original version of Order My Steps where it's just Crazy Bones singing the chorus?
No.
It's on the Strength and Loyalty cuts.
Oh man.
Yeah, so there's a version where there's no gospel singing. It's
can't
just
be
crazy.
as good. The song can't be as good. She makes the vibe.
Yeah, it's kind of like there was this group from Maine that I used to like. They had a song called Sacrifice, and I heard there was like two versions of it, and one of them didn't have the big powerful singer on it, but the other one did, and over time it grew on me. But if you hear just the Crazy Bone version, you may dig it, you may like it, and
it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for me to
it's a different feel. It's a different feel. Like both versions are good. I mean, the version that's on the album is spectacular because it's engineered. It's all done really good. But the Crazy Bone version is interesting to listen to. So
I'll check it out. Send it over. I'll check it out. Y'all know I'll always check out everything. It doesn't mean I'll like it, but I do love that song. It almost took favorite. I love Flow Motion. That almost took favorite. I even really like Streets. I know that's like a 50-50 for people. I love anytime the Game and Bone are together, and I even thought will.i.am really held it down, and it was cool to have will.i.am on there because of course will.i.am was signed to Ruthless way back in the day, pre Black Eyed Peas, and so you know, you got a little even though it's not West Coast, that's like a little West Coast Ruthless, you know, hookup right there. That's Bone, that's will.i.am in the Game. So I really like that song too. There's great songs on here. My favorite, you're not gonna believe this, it's the same one that you picked. I absolutely love Wind Blow.
Oh, yeah.
Wind Blow is man, I love that fucking song. I love that motherfucking song. I remember being at a big festival once, and there was a Fleetwood Mac cover band there, and they were actually really, really good. They did a great fucking job, and they were there for 2 days. And me and my whole crew, this is right around Strength and Loyalty, and we'd been banging the fuck out of this album. And when we found out they were there, the whole first night we were like, "Play Break the Chain." And we said it so much that they set off the thing. They're like, we're missing a member tonight, and that's who does Break the Chain. She's gonna be here tomorrow. So we made it through the whole night. The next night they come on, and all night we're like, "Play Break the Chain." And these motherfuckers, when they finally played Break the Chain, they must have felt like they were Fleetwood fucking Mac, because we were in the front of the stage just banging out like it was like a real fucking thing. And they were really into it. They were really vibing. That's my advice to anybody. If you want to see any act that you're watching live do the best job possible, you give them 100%, they're going to give you 150%, because they delivered, and it felt so good to hear that song. So my favorite is Wind Blow, for a lot of the same reasons. I love Fleetwood Mac. I love that song. Um, I think the best song on it, and this is another real photo finish situation, but I think the best song on it is actually Flow Motion. And I thought Crazy came with the heat. I loved that, during this run with them, the three of them live, they used this as obviously the intro to the album, but they even used it as the intro to their shows. And they would come out one at a time, banging each one of those verses. So Crazy would come out, and they'd just follow each other up. And I just thought they brought the heat. I obviously absolutely am in love with everything about the Yellow Bitch Bone Enterprise album. Um, I love that album, so of course it was awesome to see Flow Motion. I wish they would have called it Flow Motion 2.
Yeah.
I wish they would have acknowledged the original Flow Motion and called it Flow Motion 2. I always call it Flow Motion 2, but they called it Flow Motion, which obviously was a nod to the original. And it's a photo finish, guys, because there's a bunch of songs you could ask me tomorrow, and that may not be the best, but I always think about, if the gun's to your head and you got to pick the best right now, what's the first one that comes to mind? And I was immediately like, well, bro, that was the first thing I heard. I popped this motherfucking disc in that was designed by my man Cairo Wolf, and I popped this disc in, and that was the first thing I heard, and I was like, wow, they're bringing the fucking heat. The worst song. This is a toughie for me, and oh, hold on. This one's tough for me. I was sorry, guys. I was reading my notes. This is tough for me because I'm thinking about it, and I want to go for the obviouses. And the obvious ones are the ones that everybody hates, like you pointed out. People don't like Bump in the Trunk. I actually kind of like that song. I'm a Swiss Beats fan, though. I like what Swiss does. I don't mind him on there doing the hook. I like his voice. So I like the guy. In fact, I like all those pictures of Swiss Beats with the three of them. I like Swiss Beats. I don't mind that song. It's not my favorite Bone song of all time, but I don't mind it. I know Lil Love. Lil Love actually took a lot of heat, which I never understood either. I thought it was your classic Bone and Mariah.
Yeah.
People didn't like Bow Wow, and I was like, you're fucking crazy. Bow Wow, he JD did the song. He belongs with JD. He belongs with Mariah. He belongs with all these people. So Bow Wow, and of course Cleveland and Bone, like he belongs there, y'all. And I thought that was good. You guys will be really surprised what I think comes down to the two worst is, which is I don't like Candy Paint. For the same reasons that I just defended Swiss Beats. There's just something about Candy Paint that, I don't know, it drives me crazy as fuck.
Is it that they kind of jacked the mystical ludicrous chorus? Move out the way, move.
I don't know. It just like,
Did you like the beat? I love that beat. That
it,
that cool sound. It was such a different sounding song.
it's not the over commercializing, because when people are just like, "Oh, Candy Paint's so commercial," I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." There's so many Bone songs that are like this that you guys just let fucking be passable, and then you're shitting on this. So I can't tell you really what it is about the song, um, but it doesn't click with me. It doesn't, it just doesn't. It just doesn't click. Uh,
Do you feel that Wishbone was in his like in his element? Did you appreciate Wish's performance on it? Like I felt like that was the smoothest, and I was like, man, this is an area that Wish really shines on. He sounded so smooth on that.
maybe he brought that heat and people didn't appreciate it, and that's why we ended up with everything 100, because he was like, "Peh, whatever. I put a lot of time and I make it awesome. They hate it. Who gives a fuck? Who
I felt
knows?"
the chorus was overdone. Like there was just too much chorus, not enough verse. Like if it was all verses and I cut out all the extra stuff, bump Candy Paint might even like be in, maybe even make it to my favorite song on the album if we
Fuck.
cut out all that extra crap.
I,
But
I
but
think it's the one I dislike the most. I can see why you didn't like C-Town. Every time like Twista and Bone hook up, like they don't do what we want Twista and Bone to do together.
right.
I know that like Twista was on like that 60-second assassin shit with Lazy Bone or whatever, that big,
Yeah.
but even that, and this is no knock at Lazy, but it's like you gonna put Lazy on this song that's supposed to be all fast rappers, and that's who you picked from Bone to be the guy, like uh
I think Lake could spit fast, man. Think about his verse on The War Is On Crazy Bone Thug Mentality. That he came in with such fire on that one. When the war pop up, where the fuck you gonna be? City under attack. On the front line, march line with the Tech Nine. Where my thugs at? Dog, he came in, and it wasn't that fast, but it sounded at the time period. It sounded like Lazy really brought the heat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know Lazy can spit quickly. He's a beast. Like I think all the guys in Bone can spit fast. But what I'm saying is, when you put together a song like that, Twista and all these heavy spitters, like, and you were gonna pick a member of Bone, he wouldn't be my top pick. Is all I'm saying, to be the 60-second assassin. But I think either way, what it comes down to is, every time Twista and Bone hook up, they're like, "Yeah, we know y'all know that we spit fast, so we ain't gonna do this for y'all because we've already proven what we need to prove." But I think secretly, maybe nobody's trying to compete with Tongue Twister. Who knows? I know some people are gonna hate that, but I think that's a real a real thing that goes through their mind is, nah.
Tech Nine takes him head on every time.
Oh yeah, of course.
Tech ain't scared, man.
He'll take anybody on. Tech Nine. Shout out to the Nine. I think that's a I think that's a reason why Speed of Sound never got finished, but that's a different question of the week. So
I do got a question for you though, before you solidify what you think the worst is. You were talking about the streets,
yeah.
and just like I brought up that there was a different version of Order My Steps. Have you ever heard the game's other verse from the streets? He recorded two verses for it.
Yeah, I think I do. I don't remember it, but I do think I remember hearing that. I did hear that Cuts project. I was thinking about it, and I did hear it at one point, because I was really into this. But like all those things, it was so long ago. I haven't heard it in a long time, but I do think I remember hearing that.
Yeah, his other verse was almost better than the one that's on the album. And I wasn't a game fan because he kind of came after I stopped kind of listening, and so I didn't want to take in anybody new. But when I realized that was the game on with Bone, I started to like the game because I
Yeah.
thought his verse was so solid, his wordplay and Crazy Bones verse is incredible. That song really, really is good. So I agree that it's not my favorite, but the Streets is definitely an awesome track on that album. But I kind of cut you off twice now. You were trying to
Yeah.
let
No,
me
it's
know
all
what the
good. It's
worst.
all good. I love chopping it up about these albums, and I love this album. So yeah, Candy Paint, something just doesn't click with me. I don't. For me, it's not the same reason as I think a lot of Bone fans. I think a lot of Bone fans are just like, it's so commercial, it's so fucking bad, and then they'll jam some commercialized Bone song that's fucking horrendous to my ears and defend the fuck out of it. So it ju- it doesn't click, is what it boils down to. When I play all the songs, I'm like, this is the one I skip every time. But I'm gonna throw this out here, that it's not the worst one, but an epic fail is Never Forget Me.
Yeah.
And I know the whole fucking board, and I know everybody just went, oh, how could you ever? Never Forget Me, so good. Stop lying to yourself. Akon's so good. That beat is so good. Nobody from Bone, including Crazy Bone, delivered at the level that I expected for the epicness of the beat and for the hook. Nobody. Crazy got the closest, but even Cray Jackson, I was so surprised that he didn't bring more. And because all their verses were so subpar to me and the rest of the song was so great. And Akon's the producer. He's the actual producer of that beat and the I Tried beat, because everything came together the way it did. That song ranks really low for me because it's disappointing because the beat hits, Akon hits, and then those verses hit, and I'm like, ugh. And it was the ending of the album. It was the credit roll. And it's lackluster to me. And I'm down for anybody that loves it because I think it's a great song. But Bone didn't bring it, and it almost takes the cake for me. But it's Candy Paint. So that's my long spiel about the strength and loyalty, best, favorite, worst, fucking most important, yada 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 yada.
So then you got to give us the big recap there, Cecil West.
Ah, fuck. I don't even remember what you picked. These ones are always so long because there's so many fucking answers. But I will say, as far as what I picked my favorite as The Wind Blow. I picked the best as Flow Motion. I picked the most important as Of Course I Tried, and the worst as Candy Paint. And if I remember correctly, your favorite was Order My Steps, or maybe that was your best.
Yeah,
that was your
best.
I'm trying to remember all this. Your favorite was Wind Blow. Most important was I Tried, and the worst was C-Town featuring Twista. So now it's time for you guys down in the comments below to let us know your 4 songs that you're picking from Strength and Loyalty. Don't forget, share this with another Bone fan. And while you're in the comments, if you got something that you want to hear us do on the question of the week, drop that question in the comments below as well. That way we can do your question. And of course, we'll check you on the next one.
Beyond the harmony for the fans we celebrate.